Yeah, school's only in for another week, eh?
Yeah, my last day's the 28th or the 29th. I'm hoping hosting.
Recording in progress.
Just go silent. Is Joe coming?
I think he's
not.
Yeah, he's gone.
I was feeling a little bad for you there for last council meeting.
Why?
Because he got his COVID shot.
Oh, was
Oh.
that why you were feeling a little bit off?
I'm the type of guy who never gets sick either. When I get sick, when I'm with
I thought it was just because it was a long day of work, but
You're stronger than me, I wouldn't be the pain. But I man cold, that's what I do.
hi Joe.
Hey, Joe.
Joe.
You man cold? I think you did.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, I literally
No,
lay on the floor.
I did too a little bit.
Oh, yeah, we're recording. Sorry, please delete that from the official record.
Straight back.
All right, we have 2 more minutes here. And then we'll get started with the special meeting. Thank you guys for the last minute.
Yeah, sorry for the late reply, by the way.
Well, that's okay. No, it's just.
I think mine was later.
No, actually, you
Mine
beat him.
was
You beat
late.
him.
Yeah, I was
No.
talking with one of the workers.
Do we have the waiver to sign as well?
I can get to that, we sign afterwards, we don't have to worry about it, no.
Okay.
I'll get it.
Do we have a link to share publicly on social media?
Yeah, I just put it on mine because this is on the
Okay.
It is,
the
yeah.
Is
YouTube,
it
right?
called Mayor Colin?
Yeah. I just shared it on the tri-community one too.
Oh,
It's going
perfect.
up. Yeah, I confirmed with Vanessa that she'll be streaming it.
All right, well, I think we'll wait till 6 just in case anybody else is coming on from media.
I don't know why sometimes when you click on that link, it says this is a private viewing.
I think on the YouTube one?
Yeah.
Okay, it's 6 o'clock. We'll call this special meeting to order. I'll begin by just acknowledging that we are on Treaty 6 territory and homeland of the Métis. The purpose of this meeting today is to discuss the press release surrounding the Canada Day celebrations and what we want to do moving forward. I recognize that an email did go out to everybody asking if there's any opposition on Tuesday, June 15th at 11:22 p.m. And there was no opposition at that time, so I moved forward with that until today. Councillor Hadiski come forward, putting some opposition to that press release. So I open up the floor to anyone who wants to have a conversation about it, and then I think that we can pass an official resolution tonight for that press release to stay as it is, or it can rescind depending on the will of council. So we'll open up the floor.
Well, I guess I can start off. I agree with not having Canada Day this year, because of the fact of what's happened. I don't feel comfortable celebrating, what's happened. We came over, or not we, they came over, and the horrific things that have happened is not good, and we should recognize that and allow some time for healing. It's not to say we won't celebrate Canada Day again some year, but we need to do it together as a community. And right now, I don't feel that the community can celebrate Canada Day the way it should be together, united.
Okay. Sure, thank you. I just wanted to say I'm also in support of not hosting Canada Day celebrations as Canada Day because of what it represents. So Canada Day was initiated as a celebration of the 1800 British North America Act, and basically it's a celebration of the colonies coming together to form this country, which we are proud to live in, but now is not the time to celebrate because we're celebrating colonization if we celebrate Canada Day, which indirectly is saying that we're okay with what has happened because what happened because of colonization. So we need to recognize that and step back and really think about what it is we're doing and how we're doing. And we also need to support our community partners. La Peronge Indian Band are our neighbors, they're our friends. There are community members, and we need to stand together in support of that. So I too am very much in favor of not celebrating Canada Day as we usually do this year until we figure things out as a tri-community.
Councilor Watt?
I'm gonna weigh in on another front, my front being this. I'm gonna start by saying I'm a proud Canadian, of 58 years old. My family, our community, we're in this together as a country. And yes, there have been horrific atrocities committed in not only the country of Canada, but around the world. And I strongly believe we still have an absolutely great country. As to the councillor that just spoke, it is to celebrate Canada coming together. To turn around and say that we come across and committed these atrocities. We've lived through some horrible events. But let's celebrate Canada for what it truly means, a great country. Let's celebrate Canada to the forefathers that fought in 2 world wars to give us our freedom. And again, with all due respect to what has happened at these residential schools, is a horrible event. As in the wars, lest we forget, we cannot forget what happened, but I strongly feel we can still continue, on behalf of the town of La Ronge, celebrate this great country we live in.
Thank you. Anybody else? Go ahead.
Well, I guess I was the one that spoke out and said, you know, we need to deal with this in a special meeting. I feel the same way he does, that I respect the band's decision. And if they want to, you know, boycott the Canada Day based on, but I don't think that's what the citizens of La Ronge want. I've spoken to many people, and I haven't had one person that agreed that we should cancel it. And I think that we represent the people of this community. I think we can incorporate some kind of a ceremony or event to show our respect and honor what happened in the past, but to cancel it totally in respect to the people who fought for our country and the people in our community that want to celebrate patronage to this country. It's an important event. We are Canadians. I think we ought to respect that. It's an event that we get to celebrate one day a year, that we are Canadians, and we have all we have. We got to be thankful for, and we're in this together. I don't see what we're going to gain by canceling it. What are we going to gain? We're in this together. Like, we got to move forward as a country, Aboriginal people, all people, and I think this is the time we need to come together and deal with it, because if reconciliation is going to happen, we have to do it as a country. It's not. You know, we're a part of it, and I, you know, like, I don't like what happened in the past. You know, I mean, we sit here. I was born in this country, and I'm going to die in this country, and there are many of us that had nothing to do, but we look back on history and things that happened, and we're shameful for it, you know. But we can't change it, but we can work together and build a stronger Canada together, you know. And like I said, if the band feels that boycotting it is the way they want to go, there's not that many communities in the province that I know that are doing it, or even in the country that are doing it. So, I don't know, I think we should, I'd like to see it go forward based on, like I said, the number of people I've talked to.
Okay, I'm going to come back to you.
Sure.
Councillor McPhail, do you want to say anything this evening? I think that you're muted, maybe.
Yes.
Okay.
I have prepared something that it may be slightly lengthy, but I hope that the table will indulge as I go through my my motion and preamble to it. For those that may need a trigger warning, I'd like to start by saying that I'll be touching on racial violence, the residential school system, and genocide, and will allow a few seconds after this declaration for you to prepare or decide whether or not you would like to remain in the meeting. It is with great pride that I speak today not only as a member of the Lac La Ronge Indian Band, a First Nations band as outlined under Treaty 6, but also as a proud Canadian. With the recent discovery of many Indigenous children being found in unmarked graves across our nation, around residential schools, it brings to light the very dark parts of our history. It brings to light the history of how Canada was built to what we know it as today. It shows that our nation, of which may have fought and died to defend overseas, has done to itself and its own creation. Growing up, I remember being taught about our history from a great group of teachers here in our local high school, CCHS. Teachers that still remain in our community today, teachers that have taken it upon themselves to engage with Indigenous communities and learn our ways of life and try to deliver outstanding educational practices that incorporate Indigenous ways of life and culture. Now I'll preface this next piece with also reminding everyone in our town council chamber, everyone tuning into the meeting, and I'm sure that many of my former grade school teachers would confirm that I was a mid-70s student that probably could have achieved 90s if I was less focused on being a social butterfly. I say this because I may have been taught, but it certainly has not been retained. But what I do remember is I was taught about the history of our Indigenous peoples in Canada from early settler days, of mutual agreements between our colonial system founders and our Indigenous founders. These agreements is that the lands would be shared and that each respective person could live in peace together, and that neither would try to assimilate one into the other. I was taught about the battle at Batoche. I was taught about Louis Riel leading a rebellion and being treasonous. I was taught, and furthermore hanged. I was taught about the 1885 hangings of 8 Indigenous men in Battleford. I don't recall much more than a chapter or two surrounding residential schools, however. Maybe that is the fault of me being too chatty, but it also could be that the history of our residential schools in our country are far too complex, dark, or not age appropriate to discuss in great depth to truly understand the gravity of what those systems did. For many reasons, I can understand how we can also be proud of our collective history. In Canada, we have built a free public health system, a free public education system. We have stood up to oppression and genocide in nations other than our own. We have had people from every race on earth fight alongside one another to continue to battle for a better world and a better Canada. We are reminded of this every Remembrance Day, when we pay tribute to those who have fought and died, fought and didn't return home the same as they left, and those who have fought and returned home. We do have many things to be proud of. Now, I would be lying if I said Canada was perfect. I would be lying if I stood here today and told you that there are not parts of our collective history that we should also be shameful of, many of which I have outlined here today. Now, I also understand that many of us today, here at this table, have not done the things that I have outlined today and are not personally responsible for the shameful parts of our history. However, we are all personally responsible to fight alongside our brothers, sisters, and family to make sure that we all continue to bring Canada forward with nobody left behind. A Canada that will reconcile with those that the colonial systems have hurt and forge new paths to building a better Canada. The Canada that I am proud of is one of humility, is one of peace-seeking and peacekeeping, is accountable to all of our citizens, and will do what we can to show leadership and build everyone up equally. And right now, some of our citizens are asking us to be humble, are asking us to show leadership, and asking us to make sure they don't feel left behind. With that, I would like to make the motion that the town of La Ronge, in an act of solidarity and reconciliation, choose to refrain from our traditional parade and fireworks celebration this year on Canada Day, to reflect on the parts of our history where we have done wrong, where we can improve our relationships, and furthermore commit to building new partnerships to create a renewed vision of Canada for next year and every year thereafter. And I will ask that the motion, if seconded, be recorded.
Okay, I'll stop with the seconder, pay grade, and then we'll open it to Councillor Bishara.
Well,
what I have to say is far less eloquent than that. Thank you, Councillor Phil. That was from the heart. I really appreciated those words. All I want to say this evening is that I do support deferring or moving our celebrations to the 21st, because if we look at how Canada came to be, the British North America Act, as Councillor Louise Arcand was saying, in 1867 was basically a bunch of colonies coming together for the banal reason of fighting back against U.S. protectionist policies and the fact that Britain didn't want to pay for the military anymore. And it just so happened that it created the country of Canada. So we're in this country. Now, the Constitution Act, which is formerly the BNA, was one significant piece of legislation passed during a period of bringing civilization to the Empire's Indigenous people. The BNA was an act that codified Canada's federal responsibility of Indigenous peoples and Indigenous land. I, for one, have no issues in correcting our celebrations, tipping the scales towards putting more weight behind the true history of Canada, celebrating our culture, our people, and the truths about Canada, than a false pretense or an appeal to tradition, which is a logical fallacy that Canada Day kind of is. I do want to respond that this is not about dishonoring veterans or those that fought for Canada. That, I believe, conflates disrespect to our veterans with deferring our celebrations, and it's not the same thing. My understanding of Canada Day this year was we were maybe trying to talk about coming together with some Scotch tape and spit to throw together some sort of celebration, because we didn't know if we would be able to celebrate because of the health restrictions. So to have the conversation go from one where we were thinking, okay, well, what can we do on short notice, to we are completely shutting down our celebrations that we were supposed to have, I think is a bit of a joke. We can celebrate Canada 365 days a year. We can celebrate it every time we vote, every time we benefit from the goods and services that we receive when we pay our taxes. This is not a personal attack on anybody, and no one here is on trial for crimes committed in our recent history. But deferring or moving our Canada Day celebrations to a different celebration, I believe is the right thing to do to honor and respect those that live in and adjacent to our community.
Thank you. I'll just take a brief moment really quick, Councillor Decker, if that's okay. So from my perspective, I am a cisgendered white male, which to me is the epitome of privilege in today's world. And it's important for someone like me personally, because I can only speak on my own personal stance, is I look to the experts or to my fellow brothers and sisters who have a much better knowledge of where we stand and where I need to be an ally to move forward with the atrocities that have happened in the past. I'm a die-hard Canadian. I love being in Canada, but there are some times when we need to look at the bigger picture of what things are going to happen to help move things forward and have those difficult conversations. So, I apologize. Also, looking at our strategic plan specifically, we need to recognize that we have, number 4 on the community wellness, that provide town and LaRonge staff and council with reconciliation education. And I think that it's more so now than ever. I think we need to move that forward. And the other thing that's on that is that if we want to continue our regional partnerships and our regional relationships, this was a fantastic opportunity to do that, where we have the band specifically, you know, they originally wanted to have Canada Day celebration until we got word from residents specifically that they did not believe that this was appropriate. To that point, which is why this is time of the essence, because this isn't something that could have waited until a regular council or regular meeting of council. We have National Indigenous Peoples Day on Monday, June 21st, and our meeting is on the 22nd. So this is something that we needed to move on fast, and I do appreciate Councillor Hiskey for bringing this up, that this should have been procedurally a special council meeting so that everyone could be heard, and I'm thankful that everyone's words got heard. But we also have to recognize that if we want to continue those relationships with our Indigenous leaders and also our other tribe community leaders, which they are also in favor of not having Canada Day events this year as well, it would put us in a very, very awkward position if we were to pull out and we had the band and we had Air Orange, you know, standing side by side in solidarity, and we weren't. So I'll go to Councillor Rios and then we'll go back to you.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Ratusian. So what I wanted to say to council, this is our opportunity not just to speak about what we can do and what we want to do. This is an opportunity to take action and really show where our commitment lies and what our stance is. If we think about Canada Day as a celebratory day, what it is celebrating is the Dominion of Canada, right, which of course was the country coming together as one, the smaller colonies forming a larger colony. And yes, we are a free country, but we continue to pay tax levies and honor the British Empire. By doing that, we are saying that we support what the British Empire has done worldwide. This is an opportunity to make a difference in our community, in the community that we call home. We also need to recognize that our Indigenous brothers and sisters in this community actually keep the community running, right? Be it through using service through the human service providers, providing business to the local businesses. Like if we were to look at our census data, our percentage of citizens that have Indigenous, First Nations, and or Métis background is high. And we need to honor that. We need to show solidarity to our neighbors. And this is our opportunity to make a difference and really show that we're invested in not just our community, Town of Orange, but in the tri community as a whole. Because I am proud I have double citizenship. Being Canadian is one of my citizenships, but I am proud to be a Canadian. I am proud to be a Laurentian and to call Orange my home. So if there are people that are not happy with or comfortable with some of the decisions being made, this is an opportunity for us to learn, grow, and move forward together. Because it's time for change. And the time is now. It's not 5 years from now, it's now. And I think that most of us at this table are here because we believe that. Thank you.
Councillor Ryder.
I just wanted to read to everybody what helped me make my decision. This is from Sir John A. Macdonald, the first Prime Minister of Canada, 1879. When the school is on reserve, the child lives with its parents, who are savages. And though he may learn to read and write, his habits and training mode of thought are Indian. He is simply a savage who can read and write. It has been strongly impressed upon myself, as the head of the department, that Indian children should be withdrawn as much as possible from the parental influence, and the only way to do that would be to put them in essential training industrial schools, where they will acquire the habits and modes of the thought of white men. That does not impress me.
So I could turn around and read through the history books. It was not all negative that our forefathers put forward. I want to read a quote from our most recent leader within our tri community. And this one really hits me right between the lookers. And I quote, sorry, I've got to focus here. My glasses aren't working very well. Said it's too early to know if the region will ever see Canada Day celebration again. That type of quote I cannot support within our region, because we are in this worked together. And I'm sorry, this whole aspect of Canada and Canada Day is right here. And again, I appreciate you digging up all the negative of Sir John A. Macdonald. The guy had no positives.
He's a
Sorry,
racist.
Sorry, just 1 second. I digress here for 1 second. Just for a point of interest, can I just ask where that quote is coming from?
From the news article on NBC from your mayor, Julie Bastia.
Okay, thank you for that. There is a motion on the table. I appreciate that this is a very sensitive topic, but this is why we all are entitled to our own opinions, and we as a council have to decide on the motion. Go ahead.
I'll do what Councillor Lott just said. Is there gonna be another motion next year to do the same thing?
There can always be a motion put on the table, of course, but again, things can always change, right? And we can always,
Something else will happen to be another Canada Day, well, we don't wanna support it because somebody wants to boycott next year and a year after and a year after.
we're gonna digress. There's a motion on the table, so we're going to.
Can I call a question?
Yeah, we're gonna call a question. The motion on the table as presented by Deputy Mayor McPhail has been seconded, and this is a recorded vote, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, and I'll call the question. All in favor say aye.
We have to go around and actually record what everybody has to speak to.
Oh, you're correct. Councillor Black.
I will oppose this motion.
Councillor Bedry.
I'm for it.
Deputy Mayor McPhail.
I support the motion.
Councillor Herdisky.
Opposed.
I support the motion.
Councillor
In
Shine.
favor.
And I'm in favor as well. Okay, and that concludes the special meeting of council tonight. So we are adjourned. Thank you everybody for coming. Thanks for the short notice.
Did you get a call it?
Recording
What's that?
stopped.
Did you get a call it?
No, that was